Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary, coming to you with get excited guys, finally we are starting right here this very minute. We are starting I'm going to get ready. We are starting our patchwork jumper, but today jumper, sweater, pullover, whatever you want to call it. Today we are working on the ribbing only. Now what I want to do today is just to show how to do the ribbing, talk a little bit about sizing, very minimal because we did a lot of talk last Friday. If you didn't see last Friday's tutorial is very, very important. That's the one that had the gauge swatch that you must do before you start today. Don't think that you've got it under control. You don't need to do a gauge swatch. You do. For clothing, you need a gauge swatch. I can't stress this enough, guys. I don't know how many times I say it, but you do need a gauge swatch for clothing. So once you get that swatch done, by the way, I've left a link to that swatch. The very first link you see in the description box down below. You can click on that swatch and then come back to this tutorial. And once you've completed that, you can start on doing this gorgeous ribbing right here. It's very, very exciting. All right, so today what you will need for your tutorial is your hook size. I've got two there, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Your hook size that you used for your gauge swatch. Now for my piece, again, do your own piece. Do your own swatch, your own gauge, work it out, and then come back and see me. But for mine, I used a 5mm hook, which I don't have here right now. Oh, it'll be in the tutorial anyway. I talk about the hooks in the actual tutorial in about 5 minutes. And I used a 5mm hook for my sweater, pullover, jumper, whatever you want to call it. Now, for the ribbing, however, I did drop half a hook size. So I used a 5mm hook for the actual jumper, which is there. That's your 5mm hook, and a 4.5mm hook for the ribbing. That is optional. You don't need to do that. I did a 4.5mm hook for the ribbing because I want my ribbing to be a little bit tighter than the rest of my jumper. Now the jumper itself is relatively big. I've given you an extra 10 to 12, maybe even 15 centimeters more for your jumper altogether. So you'll have, I don't know, 7.5 centimeters off each side, really, depending on the actual size. I took 10 centimeters off the very, very top of the size, and I'll put the sizes up at the end of this tutorial. You'll actually see it in the middle of the tutorial once I finish the first 5 rows of the ribbing, and I'll talk to you about sizes then. So don't stress about sizes yet. Let's just work on the ribbing. But for now, I just wanted to let you know this is what you'll be doing today. This is a crochet along, guys. It's a crochet along that we're going to do over the next 3 to 5 weeks. I say 3 to 5 weeks because it depends on how quickly we get together and get it all done. Yeah, should take 4 weeks really, but anyway, we're saying between 3 and 5. So you'll get the ribbing done today. On Thursday, the 16th of March, you will be doing your very first row of colors. Now that's going to be different for different sizes. 2, 1. So continue along the rows. When you get to the very, very top of your ribbing and you've finished it for your size, and the sizes will be stated within this tutorial. So you'll finish off your rows. You get to the top, don't cast off your yarn. You may notice I did start the very first block in the same color. That's not necessary again either. That's something that just helped me weave in one less end. That's all I was thinking of. Can you believe it? That is all I was thinking of, right? So it is not necessary. You can use a different color, all right? But either way, maybe don't cast off your end because we're going to continue along in part 2. And I'll talk about the blocks in part 2 on Thursday, the 16th of March 2023, in case you're watching this sometime after. Oh, by the way, the little top that you see me wearing today, simply divine. I love, love, love. This little top is actually in the process of an Instagram surprise / giveaway, if you will. Now we hit 3,000 followers on Instagram not long ago. Now I was supposed to do a surprise / giveaway thing on 1,000 followers, but I forgot. No, I didn't forget. What happened was I started doing reels and Instagram just started flying and it all happened all at once. So I didn't get an opportunity to do the giveaway / surprise. And that's what this is all about. I created this gorgeous top for a launch on my website very, very soon. And all I want to do is name it. So the question is on Instagram, but you must follow the rules. 3 winners will win. Oh, what? And it's a little different than our surprises here on the channel. So head over to Instagram if you haven't yet already entered. You've got until Thursday the 16th of March as well. I'm very busy that day. It's going to be a very busy day. So head over to Instagram and enter that as well. But you must be a follower on Instagram to enter that. That's a given, really. It's like here on YouTube. You kind of have to be a subscriber to enter any of our surprises as well. So anyway, guys, I'm not going to talk anymore. We're just going to head over to the workstation now and start creating our ribbing to our very first crochet along for 2023, the Patchwork Jumper / sweater / pullover. Good luck all. Alrighty guys, this is what you will have towards the end of this tutorial. This is the base of your sweater / jumper / pullover. It's the base, it's the ribbing of your jumper. All right, but let's not worry about that for now. Just wanted to show you so that you know what you are going to do, and you will have until the 16th of March, which is next Thursday, which we will start using our colours for the blocks. In the meantime, we're going to form a slip knot. Grab the tail end of your yarn, wrap it around your finger once and twice, holding it there and holding it down there. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail for weaving in purposes, yeah? Grab the back loop, passing it halfway over your finger, hold it there. Grab the other loop, passing it all the way over, pop your hook in and give everything a tug. Now, this is optional, by the way. The original hook I'll be using for my sweater jumper is a 5mm hook. Make sure you've done your gauge, as I stressed in the promo. Yeah, can't stress it enough. I will be using a 5mm hook throughout this tutorial. However, I want my ribbing to be a tiny little bit tighter. You don't need to. You can continue to use your 5 or whatever hook you came up with during your gauge swatch. But again, if you haven't done your gauge swatch, please do that first. I've left a link in the description box down below for the gauge swatch. All right. We are going to chain 17, and that's yarn over your hook, and this is everyone, all sizes. So yarn over your hook, pull a loop through once, yarn over 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, let's bring that out now, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17. What you have are all these chains here. All right, from here we're going to work into these chains. We're going to go into the very first stitch that you see right there. So you pop your hook in the top of that loop right there, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops. That's your first single crochet. Now that's a single crochet US terminology. It's actually a double crochet in the UK terminology. So pop your stitch marker into the top 2 loops of that stitch and close it up. Yep. Then you continue to do your single crochets across your row. So 1 into your next, hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And again, in the next, and so on, all the way across your row. Don't think you need to see me do that anymore, but I'll bring it down a bit and you can watch anyway, just for fun. All right, so what you will have at the end of this row is 16 single crochets across, and this is all sizes. Yep. Don't know if I mentioned that before, but it's all sizes. The ribbing will be the same for everyone. Nearly there. Sorry about that noise, that's my stitch marker on the table. Dragging all over the table. All right, so let's get a nice close-up so you can see what I do towards the end. What I have is that it looks like I have 2 stitches, but I have 1 stitch and then the knot, all right? So right into that very last stitch there, we're doing a single crochet. And you'll notice it's a knot because it'll sit right underneath your work, yeah? If it wasn't a knot, it'll kind of have that and it'll be sitting a little bit higher up. But let's count our stitches. Now the stitches that you're counting are these little tiny V's you see right here. So you've got a V and a V, and they look like V, yeah? So 1, 2, 3, and I'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, that's all you need. 16. Now we're going to work on the second row. That's your first row, and I'll show you how to count your rows later, a little bit of a trick, but in the meantime that's your first row, yeah? Chain 1, turn your work. The chain 1 does not act as a stitch, so you are popping a stitch in that stitch right there. So pop your hook in the whole stitch, and that's your 2 loops on top, yeah? Whoops. And doing a single crochet. Grabbing your very next stitch marker, which was hiding under my scissors, give me a second, and popping it in the top 2 loops of that stitch. Now this is very important for beginners. If you don't have a stitch marker or anything fancy, just use a safety pin, a piece of thread, paper clip, hairpin, whatever you have in stock, but pop it in there, yeah? Now, to make the ribbing effect, we're going to work in what we call the back loop of our single crochet. The back loop this is your front loop right there. Turn it over and you see the little V's. Right there is your back loop. I'll show you with the hook so you can see. That's your front loop, and right there is your back loop, yeah? Front and back. All right, and I'll show you how to do that when it's facing you. So grabbing your work, face it towards you. Well, put it this way, that's your next stitch, yeah? You don't want to go through the stitch, you want to pop your hook way at the back and pop it through that back loop. Put your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your second stitch. Face it towards you, it's a lot easier now, in the back of the very next stitch, and off you go. The rest is very simple. Very, very simple. All right, this row is a little tricky. Once you start doing your second and third row, it's actually not that tricky. It's just getting used to facing it towards you and finding that back stitch. But once you get to your second and third row, your work kind of faces you after a while. So it sort of pulls itself forward to you. You'll notice that in the very next row. But for now, just keep going across like so. Nearly there, almost. Little awkward this part because it's the end of the row almost. There's your stitch, there's your very last stitch before your stitch marker stitch. All right, now in the stitch marker stitch, I've split mine there, but don't worry about that. You need to put your hook in the whole stitch, not in the back loop only. Just pop your hook in the whole stitch and not the back loop. I've split this whole thing, haven't I? I've done well. And do your single crochet in the whole stitch, like so. And what you have is that you should have a little bit of a ridge, and it kind of twirls. That's normal. That will sort itself out after about the 7th or the 8th row, so don't stress if you think something's not right. It should be okay. So we're going to count those little V's again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and the one with your thread is 16. You still have 16 stitches, and you should always have 16 stitches at the end of each row. Chain 1, flip your work. Now, I didn't mention it before, but you can flip your work any way you like. You can go this way, you can go the other way, but just be wary, they do look different, okay? So just continue being in sync in every way that you turn. So if you turn this way all the time. If you turn the other way all the time. So you're going to do your single crochet in your first stitch, like so. And your stitch marker goes directly into that stitch without splitting it this time, Mary, she says, as she's not sure if she split the other one. And once again, what are you going to do? Exactly what we did in the previous row. Face your work to you a little bit, find that back stitch for the first stitch, and then the rest will come easy. Single crocheting in your back loop of each stitch all the way across the row. Don't be in a hurry, take your time. We've got until next Thursday. It's a whole 6 days away before we start doing the ribbing. Before we start adding our colours, which is very exciting. Sorry about the noise, guys. I've kept the windows and the doors open today because the weather is just divine. There is no movement out there. I can't even see the trees moving. It's just such a beautiful day and I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss out. I love my weather. I love good weather. Yeah. All right. So I'm sorry. I got a little distracted there, didn't I? That's the train you heard. That's very local. All right. So that's the second last stitch that I just did. Let's get a nice close up. I don't think I've split this one, which is good. So there's our stitch marker stitch. You're not going to believe it. It's just so tight. I didn't split it, but it's tight. Pop your hook in the stitch marker stitch and do your single crochet in the whole stitch. You can take out your stitch marker beforehand, afterwards, it doesn't matter. And what you have is that, yeah? Chaining one, turn, do it again. Single in your first, the whole stitch. The beginning and the last stitch is always in the whole stitch. Pop your stitch marker in like so. And again, back loops. You'll find that it'll start being, won't become easier. What it is you become a little more used to doing it. And you start to get a little faster. After this row, I will show you, actually I might do it after the next row. We've got, it's 4th row now. We might do it after the 5th row. You can see it better after the 5th row of how you can count your rows easier. You can, if you want, do the old-fashioned way of writing it down on a piece of paper, marking off each row as you go, which is probably, the best way to do it. But if you forget to count and lose track, you don't want to be taking everything undone because you don't know where you are. No, there is an easy way of counting and you'll love it when you see it. Now, when you get to the last stitch, you're going to pop a single crochet in the last stitch, chain your one, stitch marker out, turn your work, single in your first, stitch marker back in, and in a minute we're going to have some instructions. Yeah, so stitch marker back in, back loops only, all the way across for the very last time, and then I'll give you some instructions. Some instructions. All right. Now I'm currently working on I have to look at my pattern there, the large. Okay, so that's just something, if anyone's doing the large, when I show you all the sizes in a minute, you'll know your amount of rows to do once you see the sizes. But I'm currently doing the large. Okay, so just a bit of heads up there when you do your large. If you are in the large range, and don't look at the word large so much as the actual numbers, and I'll explain that in a minute. All right, second last stitch. Now I'm into the very last stitch once again, into the main stitch, the whole stitch, taking out your stitch marker, and we're going to get ready for some instructions. Actually, before you do, just pop your stitch marker in that little loop of your work, and that way if your cat comes along or your children come along and start pulling at it, you don't lose your stitch. It's a little bit of a tip I use often in my tutorials. All right, so what you have here is 5 rows. How can you tell if you have 5 rows? What I do is I like to count the even rows because you can see those, and then just add that extra one. Now we've done 5 rows, so that's an odd row. See these little ridges that you see right here? They're the rows you're going to count, right? So that is the second row. This is your first, it's got a little indent on it. This is your second with the ridge on top. The only way you can tell this is we started with our tail. Your tail should be on your left hand, unless you're left-handed, then it'll be on your right hand, yeah? But your tail should be on your left-hand side at the moment. Then that first bottom row, right there, the little indent in the middle, you know, bottom of the hill kind of thing, is one row. The second row is that big top ridge you see there, yeah? So the third row will be that indent row. The fourth row will be the top ridge, and the fifth row, you can see it's pushed right back. That's the indented row. So that's how I usually count. And so when I've done my, say, 70 or 85 rows, I just go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, da 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 da, all the way up. That's how I count my rows. However, if you are new to crochet, my suggestion would be to write it on a piece of paper. I've done one row, second row, third, fourth, fifth. Or keep going 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to the rows that you need to do. Now, stay focused on your rows, really important. If you don't do your rows right, your blocks will not add up when we're ready to do the block. However, if you mess them up, you can always take that one row of block undone, which is only one row, and just add the extra row of ribbing if you've forgotten, or if you've one less or one more, or two less or two more. Don't disregard it. Make sure that this is perfect. Your ribbing is perfect. So how many rows do I hear you ask that you need for your size? Check this out. And there you go. These are the amount of rows that you need for your size. Now, we've already done 5 rows. So if you were an extra small and you only need 65 rows, as you see there, for an extra small, then you only need to do another 60 rows, exactly the same way we've done right here, where it's one row across, all in the back loops, except your first and last stitch. So what I suggest is to do the size of your centimeters or your inches. All right, so stick to that size. Try not to change the sizes to suit. Remember, if you have not done a gauge swatch, your piece will not marry up at the end, okay? Heads up there, all right? So I hope I haven't confused you too much there. Just follow the size. I'll put the sizes up again in a minute, right at the end of this tutorial anyways, so you can follow them from there. But I cannot stress this enough. Do not do a size smaller if you are a size larger. Seriously, don't do it. And make that gauge, guys. I'm really very fussy when it comes to clothing, because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than someone says, well, it doesn't fit me, yeah? Well, we want it to fit you. We want it to fit you gorgeously. All right, so that's it, guys. You are repeating that row over and over and over again for the amount of stitches that you need. I'm sorry, let's try that again. For the amount of rows that you need for your sweater. All right, that's all I want to say today, guys. I want you to continue along that way, get to the measurement that you need. Now, I've done 85 rows here because I'm doing the large, which I should be doing the extra large, which I was naughty, but it's too late now for me to change. Well, I was large when I started. Put it that way. I don't know what happened. Someone ate too much. So mine is 85 rows across. When you get to the very last stitch, don't cast off. Only cast off if you want your first colour to be a different colour. But my first colour is going to be the red, okay? So when you get to the end of your row, we're going to chain up one or two. Sorry, I had to think about that. And then we're going to start working along here in the red. So don't change your colour if you're going to use the same colour as your ribbing. Now, you don't have to use the red like I did here. You can use any colour you like. Alrighty, guys, so what you should have right now is that. Literally that. 5 little rows. Yep, 5 little rows. When you join us back here next week on Thursday the 16th of March, you would have completed your rows, the amount of rows you need for your size. Now, I'm going to leave the size measurements again at the end of this tutorial. I know I left it in the middle there somewhere and you got a chance to see your sizes, but I'll leave it again at the end of this tutorial so that you can have a look-see at the amount of rows that you need to create for your patchwork jumper / sweater / pullover. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Don't forget, we have our lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons, 10 a.m. Saturday mornings, Melbourne, Australia time. Join us there so that we can all get together and have a little bit of fun. And we do have a lot of bit of fun. Can I say a bit of fun? We have a lot of fun, so join us on those if you want to have some fun. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Make sure you do your gauge swatch before even contemplating finishing your ribbing, and I will see everyone here Saturday morning for our live 10 a.m. Bye. Ciao for now. Try to be good. Oh, can't wait for our jumper to finish. Can't wait.